Masih Alinejad is an Iranian journalist, author, political activist and women's rights activist who currently works as a presenter at VOA Persian service and is a contributing editor to Iran Wire. In 2019, Alinejad sued the Iranian government in a US federal court for harassment against her and her family. The year before, she released a book, The Wind in My Hair, The Fight for Freedom in Modern Iran, that details her experiences growing up in Iran. I urge you to read it, where she claims girls are raised to keep their heads low, to be unobtrusive as possible and to be meek. James and I, and especially Rita, are delighted to welcome Masih Alinejad to Outsiders. Masih, great to see you. Just how dangerous and evil are the Ayatollahs, in your opinion?
Such an easy question to answer. Right now that I'm talking to you, they took my brother hostage to keep me silent. That dangerous they are. If you really want to understand, just think about it. That some of your family members being in prison just because of what you do. So when I see that the Australian got released this week, it makes me happy, but I have to tell you that she has been exchanged by 3 persons who were involved in bombing, like terrorist attack. And there are many people right now are hostage in the hands of the Islamic Republic just because of rejecting the Islamic Republic. That's all.
Rita.
Well, you mentioned your brother. Tell us about his plight. He's been imprisoned by the Iranian regime, not for anything he's done, but because your activism has garnered so much attention and been so powerful. What's going to happen with him? Do you know what? Is there any avenues for you to explore to help your family?
Rita, I really want to actually tell you the reason that they arrested my brother, or in a better word, they took him hostage. It's just because I am voicing to voiceless people, giving voice to 15,000 people who got killed in Iran protest in last November. I'm giving voice to the women inside Iran who actually brave and powerful women who practice their civil disobedience in the streets, removing their hijab, saying that we don't want to be forced to wear the veil. So I'm giving voice to the mothers of those prisoners who got arrested in last November. 7,000 people got arrested. And I'm giving voice to the mothers whose sons and daughters got killed in Iran protests, and they took their mobile phone and sending videos to me and saying that we want to speak up. That's why. I mean, these people do not have any media inside Iran. Otherwise, they wouldn't just, spend money and giving me a phone call, talking to me and through internet, through phone call, and telling what's going on inside Iran. They're risking their lives because they don't have any voice inside Iran. So the government actually arrested my brother because they want to keep me silent, and they want to keep these people inside Iran silent.
James.
I'm wondering how, with the likelihood of a Joe Biden presidency coming along, how do you feel about the possibility of the Iran deal being resurrected, with the United States essentially normalizing relations with the mullahs and the ayatollahs and removing sanctions from this regime? What are your thoughts on that? How do you feel about that?
That's a very good question, actually, because I really want to use the opportunity to say that if the American government or Western government really looking for stability in the region, then they cannot just go and negotiate with the most unstable regime in the world. They have to recognize the civil society. Let me tell you about Puya's mother. Puya is the symbol of Iran protests, who got killed last November just because he actually filmed himself in Iran protest by saying that we want to get rid of this regime. So when I was making a documentary about his mother, his mother said the most important message to Joe Biden and the new administration. He said that if what you want for America, human rights, freedom, and dignity. So when you want to negotiate with the regime, let's think about it twice. Do this regime think about freedom, dignity, and human rights? for its own people? If the answer is no, then think about how you want to negotiate with the hostage takers. These government actually took the whole nation hostage. And any government, if they want to talk to them about nuclear deal, they should not bury human rights under any kind of deal. That's my message and the message of the people inside Iran.
Rita?
I want to ask you about the women's plight there, because your campaign to give those women a voice, and we see in the West, we saw Jacinda Ardern, for example, the New Zealand Prime Minister, celebrated for donning a hijab in solidarity with the Muslim community. We see the hijab promoted as almost a symbol of diversity, but it's a symbol of subjugation for so many women in Iran and in the Muslim world. And explain to us how that makes you feel when you see women imprisoned in Iran for fighting against the hijab laws, and then women in the West who are free celebrating the hijab.
Yeah. First of all, I have to say that for us women in Iran, fighting against hijab doesn't mean that we're fighting against a small piece of cloth. We are fighting against the most visible symbol of oppression. You know why? Because after the revolution, the regime actually used this small piece of cloth, which I don't have it now, thankful to my freedom, but they use this to actually control the whole society. So this is the main pillar of a religious dictatorship. Do you remember when women got free from ISIS? What was the first thing that they did? They burned the compulsory veiling. So that actually shows you women inside Iran risk their lives to say no to most visible symbol of ISIS or religious dictatorship. And right now, when we see that some of the Western feminists celebrating by donning hijab, and they say that we want to wear it because we want to respect the culture of Muslim people, it just breaks my heart. Because it's not that simple. When you call a discriminatory law part of our culture, this is an insult to a nation. Because women inside Iran risking their lives to change. If this is a culture, they want to change this bad culture. Sabah Kordafshari is only 20 years old, and she received 24 years prison sentence just because of protesting compulsory hijab and challenging the Islamic Republic. Can you believe that? And her mother, Rahele, just joined her fight, and now the mother is in prison, daughter and mother. And another daughter and mother called Yasaman and Morira, both of them received 16 years prison sentence. So for us, compulsory hijab is not just our culture, it's a tool for the government actually to patronize us. And that's why we always, ask the international community, especially the female politician. The Australian female minister went to Iran. She actually respected compulsory hijab without actually challenging the government that why you put women in prison just because of rejecting.
That was Julie Bishop. Masih Alinejad, that was Julie Bishop, and you're right, we were equally ashamed and horrified that she did that, I can tell you that.
Yes, Julie Bishop, yeah.
Yes.